Michael, anything else for the group, or we're good? Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you for bringing that information forward. Our next presenter is CHP. I don't believe we have anyone here from California Highway Patrol. No? Okay. We'll move along to code enforcement.
Hello, everyone. My name is Moises Sanchez. I'm the Senior Code Enforcement Officer for Bloomington. I just wanted to give some information on code enforcement. Our office is located at 268 West Hospitality Lane, San Bernardino. We're open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. That's our office. If you want to stop by, you can file a complaint there. You can get some information on cases, or you can speak to different code officers. If you want to call us, our phone number is 909-884-4056. You can also call, make a complaint, or let us know of something of concern in the Bloomington area, and we'll be sure to check it out. Or you can also email us, Code Enforcement Division at lus.sbcounty.gov. That's our email address. You can send in an anonymous complaint, let us know of something that may be of concern. Also, just wanted to mention a few other things. I know at the last MAC meeting, it was mentioned illegal dumping on Zimmerman Elementary School, so I followed up with them. The problem is the dumpster's not enclosed, but because the school is likely to move pretty soon, they're not going to do anything. But I gave the assistant principal my contact information. I told her if they have any illegal dumping, let us know. We'll go and resolve the dumping. So they're very happy about that. Also, we added more patrolling by the maple and spruce and those areas. They're doing a lot of the demo work. I've also made contact with the contractor there. So I told them they need to be a little bit more trash and trying to make it. So today they were actually there picking up trash, which was great. We went to an encampment, valley between the mobile homes and the storage business. That place, there was a lot of people that came out from the freeway and they took up the vacant lot that was there. We were getting complaints about a lot of dangerous activity, people with weapons there, people fighting, using drugs. We coordinated with the deputies. We went down there. We got everybody notified and got that whole area cleared out. So it's been taken care of. So just want to let everyone know. That's all I have. Any questions?
Here at the old Yellow Park, we're going to be building the animal shelter. Someone's going in there inside and dumping tires. So I noticed a bunch of tires by the brick wall. And today I was leaving, I was heading out and I saw it looked like a red tow truck of some sort that was there. They were dumping. So, and then in front of the gate as well, somebody threw a mattress there and some trash bags. They've been there for a little while now. So if you can check that, appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so if we're going to try our best to offer services, and some people want it, and the ones that don't, we have to make sure they don't start doing illegal activity in the vacant lots or other areas of the Bloomington. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. You have something else for us?
Yes, I forgot to mention, assembly members had a number of events, but one of them was Small Business of the Year. And so there was actually a business in Bloomington that was one of the what we call distinguished businesses of the year. That's like among all of the nominations that come in, which are over 100. The top 25 are selected as the distinguished businesses of the year. And so there was one from Bloomington that received that designation.
That's great. Yeah, I was honored to receive that at one time from the assembly member. Also, right now you have the, isn't it nominations open for the 30 under 30?
Yes, exactly. 30 under 30. So that's individuals under age 30 years old who have distinguished themselves in terms of their career and their service to the community, and we like to honor them. And so we ask for nominations from the community, and then from those nominations we select 30 individuals under age 30 years old.
Okay, thank you. So if anyone in the audience, please get with Michael, the assembly member office, and offer your suggestions.
Honor and something they put on.
All right, we're going to move along to Colton Joint Unified School District. Board member Israel Fuentes. Board member?
Thank you, Vice Chair. Members, my name is Israel Fuentes. I really don't have a report today, just to say that we are in 32 days of school, about a month in already, as of actually today, September 4th. And we do have a few back to school nights still lingering out there. And just wanted to say, if you have any information or you need any information, please contact your local administrator office. Let them know that you have questions, concerns. They're always ready to help you. And if you ever need my help, you can look me up online. Look up Colton Joint Unified School District, www.Colton Joint Unified School District. You can find my information there. If not, always call me. My number is 909-664-7726. My email is Israel_Fuentes, cjusd.net. And that's all I have. If you have any questions.
But I don't have any questions, but I just want to tell you thank you for always being available, always answering your phone, your text messages, no matter what it's about. I do really, especially in the position you are. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I always try to do that. If I'm busy, I'm always there. Even if I send you a text at 2:00 in the morning, you'll get a text from me. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you, board member. Moving along, do we have a representative here from County Fire? Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Schuster. I'm a battalion chief, San Fire Department. And I wanted to give you a quick update on the month past, or few months now. We have approximately 200 calls for service past August, and that brings us up to over 1,600 calls year to date. We do have some projects around the station. I know last time I spoke to you, we've put a fence around the station. We've also got some experience helping in the area. I do want to mention it's a great job cleaning up the area around the station. Also, the businesses in the area cleaning the alleyways, so that really does brighten the. Last we spoke with the tower graduation. We've also spiders are hitting the floor and some much knowledge and experience. Remind, I say this every time summertime. Yep, almost on a daily basis, and then also don't clear around your yard and any open areas and those prevent some of the fire to grow very rapidly. Website is www.cfire.com. Thank you very much.
Out there. Thank you. All right. Next up is Sheriff's Department. Sorry, please want to go now, or do you want to wait for the? Okay. We'll do informational presentation separately. Thank you.
(2024) at approximately 5:13 p.m. The location so there was a suspect that we wound up arresting responsible for it. His name is Jesus Ramirez. He is 43 years old and a resident of Riverside. There were two victims on this. One died. The second one made it through. The victim that died was a 3-year-old male adult by the name of Octavio Tarin. He was a resident of San Bernardino. He had multiple stab wounds and did not make it through, did not survive. Second victim, a confidential sheriff station responded to on 6th Street in Bloomington with a report of a stabbing. When deputies arrived, they located the victim, later identified as Octavio Tarin, outside of the business with multiple stab wounds. Response also responded to the location and pronounced Tarin deceased at the scene. So when this call came out, our whole shift got on there fast, and we provided as much medical aid, and it's a lot of chaos to deal with in seconds. Detaining anybody involved, witnesses, video, crime scene, you name it. The Sheriff's Specialized Investigation Division, Homicide Detail, responded and assumed the investigation after that. A second victim was also located at the hospital where he was being treated for stab wounds as well. Deputy identified the suspect as Jesus Ramirez. Following day, after a very thorough investigation, which is Sunday, August 18, 2024, deputies from the Specialized Enforcement located Ramirez at his residence in Riverside and took him into custody safely with the incident. This was booked at the West Valley Detention Center, where he remains in custody with bail. That's the first one. The next one I'm going to talk about is, I think they're all important cases, but this one we had a lot to do with it. And this one is out because the two victims in these were just two guys going to work in the morning. And this is right down the street. This happened more or less on Slover and Larch. You guys know the area. With an assault with a firearm, felony while out on bail. Secondary arrested for being a felon with a firearm and being a parolee at large. This started, there was only one suspect involved, and I'll get to it. The first suspect, this is the guy responsible car initially. Dalton Alvarado, 19 years of age, resident of Pauma. It's over there towards Palm Springs Desert. Suspect number two, this was a secondary subject we came across, who was a parolee at large with a firearm. Christopher Pipa, 29 years of age, home of his victims were they're confidential and they're recovering from this. This is what happened on this morning on August 8th, 2024 at approximately 5 a.m. This is they're going to work. Victim one, who was a driver, and victim two was a passenger involved in the traffic collision, stopped to check on the parties, sure if anybody was injured or needed help. One exited his vehicle armed with one by and then Alvarado and find him a person. His third arrest warrant for Alvarado and use investigative tool to obtain his location. The 28th, 2024, on sanitation member the multi-enforcement team from a gang back insurance. Members of specialized in Dalton Alvarado was located with incident. Is one work, and I'm proud of all my people. Did an excellent job on this, so we're not going to stop. community, whether it's a child, an elderly person, whoever it is, anybody gets hurt, this is what's going to happen. The last one that I'll kind of get into, this one caught me off by surprise. This one happened last night. So while most of you guys were asleep around 1:07 a.m., just picture the rail right here next to the freeway on Cedar, right? You guys familiar with it? Union Pacific, a lot of trains and whatnot. So I'm going to talk about Jesse Verduzco. Verduzco is a 22-year-old male from Montclair. Jesse Verduzco has a for and the amount of deputies we have, these calls on them very quick. The other cases.
Now it's Oleala Park, the Oleala Park things. I don't want to much of the time presentation. That's pretty good that I want to give out. So.
Questions from the board?
Yeah, Sergeant Reese, so all these incidents you mentioned in the past, it seems like they all have one thing in common. The perpetrators and a lot of times the victims are not from Bloomington. Can you tell us what's going on that all these people are from out of the area or coming into Bloomington activity?
Yeah, like you said, usually they're not from Bloomington unless it's some type of a domestic related incident, and those are everywhere. A lot of them travel through here. Some of them come from LA, think they're going to do crime like they do over there, and it doesn't pan out for them. Some of them come out from Riverside, San Diego County, other counties, and for whatever reason, there's additional things they're into that we're also investigating. A lot of times they're involved in so many crimes that they just go on a spree. But if you don't have thorough investigators that know what they're doing, they're going to continue. Once they cross through here, there is a very high chance they're going to get caught, and they do, if that kind of helps.
One other thing, Jessica mentioned earlier, we had an accident on the corner of Spruce and Santa Ana last week, and we had a black pickup truck. It ran at a very high rate of speed, apparently ran into a tanker truck. And the person that was driving the black pickup truck bolted and made a run for it. So I'm assuming that truck was probably stolen. Were you guys able to catch the individual? Or?
That's the one with the carjacking, the black pickup truck. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, this wasn't the one on Orange or Slover. This one was at Santa Ana.
So
Spruce.
depending on the time frame, a lot of times these cars are stolen and they just go out and commit multiple crimes. So once we link them up and then we compare with other agencies, we'll send them a bolo and they can look at it. They contact us and then we connect them. There's a good chance it could be related, but I don't want to give you false information.
Right. Okay. Because I'm assuming the truck was stolen because he had no other reason to run. The truck belonged to him.
In our case, it's a thorough investigation, but it's somewhere along embezzlement, stolen. There's a lot to it, but it could be related.
Okay. Thank you, MAC members. Anything else?
Good. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Sergeant. Okay. Next up, Special Districts, Aaron Spear. Aaron, are you here? Yes, you are. Okay.
Good evening. There's a ton of exciting stuff happening in our parks. I know this is a longer meeting tonight, so I won't go into the greatest of details, but we're really proud of where we are here right now, and it's super exciting. The National Night Out, just a huge thank you to everybody that was here. It was well, the community and the county represented well, and it was really a really nice, fun event. And we look forward to having those more and more. either here or at Kessler Park. So it was a super exciting event, and we're really proud of it. We also had our first concert up here in August, and thank you to the Olive Branch and the supervisor's office for helping us partner in that event. I think it's the first of many, and we're super excited moving forward about having more series and during our summertime for more outdoor activities for our community, our folks in Bloomington to do. Kessler Park has been busy, as you guys see, with the Dream Field and construction. We delivered our 18 new park picnic tables that are put into their final destination, and they look beautiful. And so far, so good. Knock on wood, the community's been kind to them. So we hope to keep that standard moving forward. We also got a brand new dual barbecue grill. It's beautiful. It's a great amenity for the park, and the park goers and should be proud that they can have a place to have a nice place down there to barbecue and have a get together. We just installed a new gate right behind Field 3 so that whenever folks hit balls out of there now, they're not gone forever. It's not the Sandlot no more when there's a 9-foot dog waiting. So yeah, the gate's installed, and a couple other minor things will be completed on the snack bar moving forward. Just working through the things that go along with that. We just started our youth soccer program, and I know fall baseball is getting ready to start. Harupa is open now. So the Harupa parking lot is back and it's available. We're going to be putting a secondary set of bathrooms out there because the Dream Field has absorbed the men's bathroom and the office door. So we'll have another option for bathrooms for both programs that we'll be running out there in the fall. Park hours have gone to 9 o'clock, which they traditionally do after Labor Day. So the park will now be open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Senior lunch is, we still have senior lunch up here at Ayala Park, Monday through Friday. Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's breakfast, and Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, it's lunch. And that's doing really well, and it's always well attended, so it's exciting. Community garden should be finished right at the end of the month here, so we look forward to unveiling that in the month of October, so that will be exciting as well. Like I said, I can go on and on, but is there any questions? Okay, thank you.
No question for Aaron? Thank you, Aaron. Go ahead, quick one.
The containers? Yeah, we call it Container Row now. No, no. There's plans moving forward, so we can talk offline about it. Yeah.
We're good. Thank you, Aaron.
Okay.
Appreciate
Thank you.
your time. Thank you for coming. Okay.
All right. Well, good evening, everybody. Just wanted to, first of all, just wish everybody a happy August. Hopefully, great weekend and stay cool out there. Drink plenty of fluids for sure. Last month, spoke to you a little bit about our calendar contest. So we do have flyers still for that in the back, but I did want to talk to you a little bit about we actually are doing a scholarship for high school seniors. So if you know of any high school seniors who would like to participate in our scholarship contest, we do have flyers in the back. We're going to start taking submissions starting on September 23rd, and the final deadline is February 28th. So it's a good opportunity for anyone who's looking to get a scholarship for college. So please pick up a flyer in the back if you're interested. And then also we have some keychains with our new mascot in the back as well. So if you'd like any of those, we're more than happy to provide you with that, and happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
Okay. Questions for Board President Young? No? Okay.
I just want to say thank you for getting the community involved to the calendar. I thought that was very nice. It's always nice when, the community is involved in something to make it.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. It's one of our best things that we do with the community, and it's always a lot of fun to see what the kids come up with. So, yeah. But I do have to run after this, but if anyone has any questions, I'll be in the back for a few minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Greg. Appreciate it. Okay. Informational presentations this April. What is statistic 2024 from our sheriffs?
Okay.
Evening, Captain, and welcome.
How are you?
It's good to have you here.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you. We're just waiting for a couple minutes. There's a few slides informative for you to see some of this. Just wait for that. Yeah. I had one job. I know. One job. I'm telling you. I can always do it with interpretive dance. You be my dance partner. Yep. Know that one. For 22 years. I've currently been at the Fontana Sheriff Station for 6 months. Prior to that, in 2018, I had the honor of being here as a sergeant. So I had an opportunity to return, and it's been a pleasure. As you heard earlier, some of the great work that our deputies and our detective bureau are doing are absolutely phenomenal, and I hope to highlight some of that work today. Pleasure of giving you a brief public safety update. We're going to focus on some of the statistical data for this year to date. Data felt like that was the freshest, and that was most appealing to the group and at the board's request. Next slide, please. Felt that start by explaining a little bit about where your law enforcement services come from. And from the Fontana Sheriff Station, which is approximately 2 miles from here. It's at the corner of Arrow and Alder. It's one of the oldest sheriff stations in San Bernardino since 1941. Deputies that are assigned to the station. Square foot geographic area, which is very vast, of the unincorporated areas of Bloomington, San Antonio, Rialto, Santa Branch. So they're responsible for that entire geographical area, which, however, through the generosity of Supervisor Baca Jr., we were able to get 2 specific deputy positions funded for Bloomington and 1 vehicle, which, as you're going to see in the next slide momentarily, the 2 deputies that we have assigned to Bloomington currently are Deputy Nunez and Deputy Ponce. Deputy Nunez was up here a moment ago. Both of them are Spanish speakers. Both of them have been in their position for approximately a little over 1 year. And both of them are field training officers. The reason that's important is the field training officers have an opportunity to incorporate all of our brand new, our Fontana Station with the community to Bloomington. So therefore, a lot of deputies that are very familiar with the specific incidents, specifically from those deputies assigned to there. I wanted to show you what those 2 deputies came into their positions. So, in terms of 3 specific areas, one, there's been quicker responses to calls for service. We took a sample size of response times now compared to right before we incorporated the 2 new deputies. And for 1 calls, which are a majority of the calls that we have here in Bloomington, it reduced those response times by 40%. Our response times for priority 1 calls are quicker than the national average as well, which, based on some of the vast geographical areas and some of the issues that we got to deal with traffic, is actually very, very impressive. Next one is we've been able to have a lot more proactive policing rather than solely being reactive. The proactive policing has allowed us to make contacts with a lot more suspicious persons or suspicious vehicles driving through the area that normally, unfortunately, would have probably not had an opportunity for us to contact them. Since we have a dedicated deputy there, we've been able to have a lot more of those contacts. Some of the data, and I apologize, the font's not super big, but I'm just going to kind of highlight some of those. Actually, proactive stats from January through July of all deputies in the Bloomington jurisdiction that we have. And stops 364. 96 extra patrols 175. Warrant services 41. Bicycle stops 1. And parks, specifically and Ayala Park, there's been 10 of those conducted, which is very valuable because obviously there's been a large investment in a lot of the community dividends to keeping some of those items from being vandalized. Next one is a community engagement. I felt like this was very important for us to make certain that you're aware of, because especially Deputy Nunez, he's not the kind of guy that likes to stand up in the limelight and talk about all the cool things that he's done, but he has done remarkable in the community. School events and visits, various. He regularly attends all the MAC meetings and gives updates. That he collaborates very well with a lot of different agencies within the county. For instance, our partners in code enforcement, great collaboration with them. When you bring up a lot of these issues, he's immediately jumping trying to find a solution. He's also worked heavily with probation to ensure that there's a lot of proactive probation searches that are occurring at locations in Bloomington that are problematic. He's also organized Operations Consequences, which is a crime suppression fund that has been provided from the Board of Supervisors to address some of the ongoing criminal issues. Also, with the marijuana teams on some of these illegal marijuana dispensaries that are operating, out various sweeps, and he's done a tremendous job. So we really appreciate it. And then there's also been numerous times where they've addressed complaints from the community regarding squatter homes, as well as, which we mentioned a little bit earlier. Between January and July, our deputies have responded to 7,178 calls for service. Those calls range in various different priorities, but we want to focus on 2 different priorities. Priority E and Priority E's are calls that are defined as calls that have a specific, or there's a high likelihood that there's a specific injury that may occur. And so far, there have been a total of 61 total of those calls. Those are our most emergency, highest exigent calls for service. 6%. The most common types of priority E calls we've had have been a weapon, which has been 19 calls for service, robberies, 15, and manned gun calls, there's been 10 of those. Priority 1 calls are defined as in-progress calls where the perpetrator or perpetrators are likely still in the area, and those are a majority of our calls. So there's 31 all calls for service meet the criteria for priority one. Roughly 2,200 calls for this year to date. Uh, Very impressive. I do want to specifically talk about crime data. Calls for service can sometimes be reported as one thing, and when we take, for instance, shot as, hey, we heard gunshots in the area, we get there and it works. So sometimes you'll see a disparity between that data, and it will reflect like that there's a lot of shots, shooting in an uninhibited dwelling or firing a gun in public. Well, that's not always the case. I would suggest when we look at calls for service data, you look at it for what it is, which is the abundant amount of calls that we have and how many times we have to respond to those calls. Next slide, please. Which brings us to the importance of this next slide. So to give you a little bit more specific information about some of the crimes that have occurred this year, and I do want to point out one thing. It says January to July, but we actually did January to August on this slide because we wanted to give you a little bit more information. And we wanted to highlight some specific categories where we have the most common reported incidents. So once again, calls for service and 932 reports is how many have been taken during this particular time frame. Keep in mind, this is the primary offense, and if there's been numerous offenses, this is only capturing that primary offense. Go with the most egregious crime to document that with. So on the left is a chart that shows the percentages of those various categories, and the column on the right is showing the specific number. I want to point out a few different. Our most common category is frequency of 191 occurrences, or 22%. That includes all thefts excluding grand theft auto and fraud. The next highest category is in violent crimes. The most domestic, the most likely occurrence between, a husband and a wife, and you're tending to the husband, and sometimes by the wife. They're very volatile situations, and they tend to result in, unfortunately, a lot of officer-involved injuries. Grand theft autos traditionally have been a plagued area in Bloomington that we have been victim of for a long time. So we try to do as much as we can to kind of combat some of those issues, and we do have some suggestions that do the Board of Supervisors to will help us combat some of those vehicles before they get stripped. They leave our area, and we've been very responsive. Some high hopes at that. The very top, I do want to point out is that you said gave you some specific details about the one that happened. For one incident, 0.01%. And point out, Sergeant Luther mentioned, those suspects were arrested. Red line to the right of it. So far during carjackings, crimes that were documented, and to say that in both of those incidents, one that was at ARCO, and then the other that was unfortunately, we do can to hold people accountable and cite them or arrest them, but a lot of times they don't go to court, and those result in arrest warrants that are issued from the judges. So 75 of those warrant arrests. Other rare cases, sex crimes, there was 14 reported. There was 5 robberies. And other than that, the vandalisms were a little bit higher frequency of. So in conclusion, I wanted to thank everybody for their time and listening to some of the statistics. And I would like to answer from or from the
Teresa?
I only have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
So on your calls for service page,
Yes, ma'am.
where you put that 60% occur on graveyard, is there what is there any coverage with our Bloomington sheriffs on that shift? I know they mostly work earlier, but
So and that's actually a very good question. So as I mentioned earlier, Supervisor Baca was generous enough to give us the 2 deputies. Those 2 deputies, unfortunately, are only enough for us to have dedicated deputies during the day shift hours. Now, during nighttime hours, the area of Bloomington is covered by the other deputies that are assigned to the Fontana station, which also have other jurisdictional responsibilities, as I mentioned earlier, unincorporated areas of Fontana, Rialto, Rosanna Ranch, San Antonio Heights. And so there is, we could do much better if we had 2 additional deputies assigned to Graveyard, because what that would do would give us an opportunity to improve a quicker response time on Graveyard. And also, I believe that it would be more of a police presence on Graveyard. So therefore, it would act as a deterrent, and it would also let us catch a lot more of the crimes in progress.
thank you for that.
Thank you. Any questions from the audience? Thank you.
Couple questions.
Yes,
Along the lines of what Trace asked. It talks about Supervisor Baca dedicating funding for 2 deputies. What did we have?
I'm sorry.
Okay, it was squeaking before, but before 2021, when Supervisor Baca dedicated funding for 2 deputies,
Yes.
what did we have before that? Didn't we have a deputy?
Yeah, so the deputy was, there wasn't a specific deputy that was assigned to Bloomington as his or her sole responsibility. It was blended into all those other beats. So it wouldn't be unusual for a deputy that was patrolling this area or in this area to also be dispatched or responsible for events in Fontana. The luxury of having that individual funding for Deputy Nunez and Deputy Ponce is they're able to not only attend to a lot of the criminal matters, but they're also able to do things like what we're doing now, attend community events. If we didn't have that dedicated funding, Deputy Nunez would be out shagging and responding to calls and doing a lot of the things that he doesn't have the ability, not have the ability to do individual fund. Just be stacking priorities based on the other priorities that are there. So with that individual funding, we're able to carve out deputies that are specifically assigned to the concerns of this area rather than mix.
Okay, so we have basically, out of the Fontana station, we have 34 deputies for 24/7 response throughout all these areas is 129 miles. Right, okay, you guys are spread pretty thin. Let's say that. We're spread pretty thin.
Some of the challenges that we face is a deputy could be responding to a Antonio Heights or even Rosanna Ranch. It spreads us thin because you have a lot of, geographical problems. kind of will monitor crime trend. We know where a lot of the higher priority and the priority one calls, and we're able to stack our with that being said, if there were two additional deputies fully here, I think it would definitely deter a lot. We would be able to catch a lot more criminals in the act rather than being.
Right. I think that's, earlier with Sergeant Ruiz's report about, out of town people, for lack of a better word, coming into Bloomington. It seems like, that's obviously a concern. When got 7,178 calls, was that throughout the whole Fontana area? That's just not including Bloomington, or it is?
Bloomington.
Only Bloomington.
That is
So,
only Bloomington.
okay, so that's approximately 1,200 calls every month for 6 months, average. So,
It averages out to roughly about 34, 35 per day, somewhere around there. Yes.
so that just goes to show how stretched you guys are in the need for continuing to get more public safety into the community.
And it's really important for us to still have that balance of community, especially with as does of connecting with the youth, and trying to be that positive role model for the community. Having him solely funded as well as Deputy Ponce, when we have calls for service, there is it's there, and obviously we do what we can to manage both effectively.
Okay, and it's interesting to note that a large percentage of the serious calls are on the graveyard as well. And so, okay, I think I saw one hand out there, Pam. Yeah, Dave, before you go, Pam has a question.
Yeah. No. And earlier, just because we have the two deputies that are assigned right now and they're working day shift does not mean that on graveyard that there is no coverage in Bloomington. That coverage is spread amongst the other jurisdictions. However, there is still a heavy presence of officers in this area. We also have, which I did not mention into it, you mentioned about some of the specific issues that occurred a little bit later on in the evening. Sergeant Ruiz had mentioned the multiple enforcement team, the gang team. The gang team is very frequently out during those timeframes, and we are specifically trying to leverage a lot of the information that we have in terms of statistics to kind of work those in our favor to ensure that we're kind of policing the areas that need it the most. However, I would strongly encourage, just like what we've done in the past, when you see suspicious activity occurring, no matter what time of night it is, call, because that's how we prioritize when we go out to some of these areas. We would love to have enough staffing to have enough deputies to catch everything in progress, but a majority of the calls that we catch in progress are directly related to calls for service from our public. So definitely calling us, and after this, I would be more than happy to talk to you a little bit more and see if there's a specific incident or reason that you're having these problems. We could figure out a solution to give you a little bit better coverage. Thank you, man.
Question or a comment?
we have two guys. We are done.
Thank you,
You're
sir.
right, Captain, are you going to hang around in case anybody has questions? Or
Absolutely. I'll be here afterwards. If you have any questions or concerns, we'll be more than happy to address those. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
that's
you for your
great. We've
time.
got a lot of presentations this evening. Thank you so much for all the information. And thanks for the great work you guys are doing with a light staff. We appreciate it. Okay, moving along, our next presentation is San Bernardino County Community Development and Housing Department. Good afternoon, good evening.
I have a point presentation. Hopefully will be shown. Oh, there we are. Okay, great. Hopefully you can hear me. Do I need to move the mic up? You guys can hear me okay? Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Brian Anderson, and I'm with the San Bernardino County Community Development and Housing Department. And I'd like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak today. The main purpose for this is we're kicking off to prepare our HUD Consolidated 5-Year Plan, as well as our analysis of impediments to fair housing, both of those documents. And the purpose here is we wanted to announce to the public about this so that we can get public input through the survey that we have available to the public. It's available through the Survey Monkey, but we also have some printed versions here that they can also complete as well. And also to kind of give you kind of a high level overview of what a comp plan does and what it is and what the analysis of impediments are. Next slide, please. The five-year consolidated plan serves multiple purposes. It identifies and prioritizes community development and housing needs, and it acts as a funding application for federal programs. The types of grants that we are discussing is community development block grant funds, as well as home investment partnership program and emergency solution. Our goal is to allocate federal grant money towards areas with the greatest need within our county, basically. Next slide, please. I know that's a little small, but on our community needs under what we call CDBG, Community Development Block Grant, we do some services, a very minimal amount, about 6%. And that's for like public safety type activities, senior services and transportation. But the most of our funding is in some prime examples that we've done here with Community Development Block Grant. We've assisted in the building of this park. We've also done some improvements years ago in Kessler Park. We also assisted in building the community center, the Bloomington Library, I should say. But other things that we do as part of the infrastructure, we do ADA compliance a lot of times in the parks because there's barriers to get to the things that others have access to. We do street and sidewalk improvements in neighborhood residential routes to school type situations. We do tour as well in some of these rural low-income communities that maybe they're having a significant amount of sewer issues. And our goal is to basically understand the needs within each of these communities so that we can focus in on what we want to target for the next 5 years. Also, as you see on the slide, we talk about home. Our home funding is primarily targeted towards affordable housing activities. And so a lot of times what we do is we either acquire or we rehab or we build new multifamily housing to hopefully bridge the gap on affordable housing for those that are struggling. We also do emergency solutions grant. And with that, we support services and emergency shelters and rapid rehousing, also street experiencing homelessness. So those are kind of some of the things that we do. And we're looking based on the survey to understand of those that I've kind of talked about, what are the needs in this community that you're looking for? And we can get that through the survey that we're asking for. Next slide, please. Next is our analysis of impediments to fair housing. The analysis of impediments to fair housing is crucial for identifying barriers for fair housing, basically. It examines patterns of segregation. It highlights disparities in access to opportunities. It defines disproportionate housing needs. And basically, the ultimate goal is to establish fair housing priorities and goals that will guide our actions moving forward. So in that survey too, it's asking the residents, have they experienced anything in regards to fair housing? And we also are looking at impediments that we see to help people get into housing as well. And so that's the goal of the survey in regards to the analysis of impediments. Next slide, please. Some of the, as I proceed through this, barriers that we see with basically affordable housing. This slide is basically the changes in racial background in the Inland Empire. And as you can see, there's been an increase in all racial groups except for white non-Hispanic, which has decreased. The need for fair housing and access to affordable housing as our communities continue to evolve. Next slide. So this slide here is also statistics from the Inland Empire, which talks about our overall poverty rate, which is poverty is one of those barriers to affordable housing. As we know, affordable housing is a huge issue, not only in our communities, but in California as a whole. And in the Empire, there's 11.9% of overall poverty rate in the Inland Empire. Breaking down that into racial groups, Latinos are of that 11.9 are about 13%. Asian Pacific Islanders, at 10.1%. So poverty remains a significant barrier, as I said earlier, to housing and underscoring the urgent need for affordable housing in our county. The next slide, please. This one really resonated with me. And what we're basically talking about here is if you look at a one bedroom in San Bernardino County, it averages about $1,600 a month. Someone who's basically on minimum wage would need to work 77 hours per week in order to afford a one bedroom. And as you look as it grows by bedrooms, there's a significant amount of hours that are needed for those that are needing a 2 or 3 bedroom. And this is a huge impact to those that are on incomes. Next slide, please. So what's next? Community input through the community meetings and certainly through all the way to the end of October starting now. This feedback helps us, as I said earlier, identify community needs for fair housing barriers, and it develops actionable recommendations. The draft report will be available for public review in January, and then final will be targeted for local approval in March. How do we get involved? Next slide, please. How we get involved? We encourage to get involved in this process by taking the survey, also sharing it with others. It's critical that we hear from all the communities to kind of understand what their needs. So that way, when we look at those needs, we can then prioritize the most important, because obviously there's only so much funding, but we need to really prioritize what's the highest needs in all of our communities. This will help us plan basically, not only for the needs of addressing the community about, but also if we have any issues with the fair housing conditions that we're seeing. We work with a nonprofit organization that deals with the fair housing components and can basically address those. I just want to thank you again for allowing me to come speak. I also wanted to mention we also have a copy of the PowerPoint presentation for those that want to share it. And we also have a flyer that has the QR codes. Not only is it on the PowerPoint, but there's a flyer that gives you the QR code both to the survey and to our website that has all those resources. The survey is also in Spanish, so those that need that, we have that available to them as well. Yes. So when you link into the SurveyMonkey, it'll come up and it's offering basically 3 languages. One is Spanish, the other is English and Vietnamese. So thank you again. I appreciate your time. Yes, sir.
Couple questions for you.
Uh-huh.
I actually have served on CDBG committees in another community. Typically, that portion of CDBG goes to, block grants go to infrastructure improvements by and large, and then a smaller portion goes to community services. So, and then you've got three pots of money, it looks like. Is that correct? We're talking about 3 different things.
There's 3 different types of sources of funding that are focusing on various groups.
But your presentation is really mainly focused on affordable housing issues.
It's affordable housing, also community development needs that I mentioned earlier for CDBG. So it's talking about all three grants. And so each of them have a targeted type of, like you said, infrastructure for CDBG, housing for home, and also homelessness through the Emergency Solutions Grant. So the survey asked several questions just on that in regards to the priority needs within the consolidated plan.
Okay, this information is going to be used to give to the federal government, because these are federal grants we're talking about, correct?
We are a direct recipient through HUD as a urban county. And so we work with all the unincorporated areas, plus we have basically 13 cities that chose to participate with us. And so the funding is kind of broken out. We're almost treated like a mini HUD in a way, because allocation for cities, they get a percentage of allocation. They submit applications to us that we review for eligibility, especially CDBG. I'm talking about CDBG. And so we vet those, and then they make funding recommendations that the board ultimately has to approve.
Right.
Home, it's an RFP process. It's competitive. Usually a developer will work with either the unincorporated community, or if it's a city, or a proposal that they evaluated to see if they.
Okay, so when you get the grant money, so the cities get a percentage. How dividing up the unincorporated, who getting what
So
share of the
on the
money
county,
in the unincorporated area?
the county unincorporated right now is been primarily targeted towards county-owned large infrastructure projects, because they wanted large impact into the community. So a lot of the stuff that you see for the county, and it's kind of spread across all of the different districts, are, as I mentioned, like ADA improvements to the park. We also have done purchase of fire trucks into low-income communities that primarily service that area. We've done street and curb gutter, like safe routes to schools and residential neighborhoods. And like I said, that we've done is Ayala Park, and also right across behind us over here, the whole Home was a participant in the multifamily housing project, and CDBG helped build the actual library.
So on your chart about who's in poverty, when you add up all these categories, we're looking at like 57%. Is that accurate statement? More than
in regards
half?
to the allocation, I'm sorry, which chart are you?
Okay, on the one about who's in poverty in the Inland Empire,
Yeah.
when you add all the categories, you're like 57%. Is that accurate?
It's basically 13.9 that you see as an overall statistic for poverty.
Okay, so it's
Each of
not
those-
cumulative, it's just
Yeah.
the average of the various categories.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so a community like Bloomington, we're a disadvantaged community. Do we get a lion's share of, not generally speaking, I know there's other disadvantaged communities, but being that we have pretty,
I think a couple of things, because I've been with the department for 23 years, so I've kind of seen quite a bit of investment in this area. That's why I mentioned Kessler Park in the past. We used to do a lot of investment in there. And we jumped on, and we're one of the proponents of moving Ayala Park, because when I first started, Ayala Park was basically at the old place, and we had a lot of homeless conditions, and it wasn't in a place really for the community to really use. We were trying to get it closer to the residential neighborhoods. And so for you guys, the way it's broken out is what we hear from public infrastructure needs. So like special districts came to us and said, hey, we have these ideas and this is what we need. Or public works. There's been that we need to do something in the area, and it just so happens in this area. I also think, as it's been mentioned to me in the past, this is a corridor into the county. And so it represents the county well as we see these infrastructure improvements that are coming along. So, yeah, go ahead. This is our director, I'm sorry.
I'm Carrie Harmon, the director. I'm just his sidekick today. He's actually the guru of community development block grants. But in terms of like specifically the Bloomington community, we have a committee at the county that looks at infrastructure projects. And what they look is what projects are ready to go, right? Can we invest in, but also where are we lacking infrastructure? So when we did this large investment not that long ago, it was because we noticed at the county level a lack of infrastructure in the Bloomington area and other areas of the county, the unincorporated areas. They might need street lights, or they might need curb and gutters, or safe routes to school might be the higher priority. And that is also where the survey comes into play. Because what is really important, not just to the county, but also to the federal government, is that these priorities are driven by the community. They're driven by the residents in it. So when you open the survey, you can determine whether homeless issues or safe routes to school or senior issues are the top issues in your community. They change over time. They've changed significantly during the pandemic. Several years ago, like when we talked about the home investment partnership, we built Bloomington 3 with home funds. And so we saw a need for affordable housing here. And our prior surveys suggested that you guys needed more housing infrastructure here. The priorities are set for a 5-year period. And so you're looking at about roughly $50-60 million that you will be involved in planning. So we want to hear from you. We're excited to hear from you. So, different communities have different needs, and it just helps us over time serve you better. And these are public dollars, so they should meet your needs.
Hey, thank you. Roxanne,
Any
real quick
other-
question before we move along. Go ahead.
Sure.
So the survey, you guys have taken account for all of the warehouse footage that was taken, and we were told for each one of those that we would become integrated with each policy, which I never have, except for what we have in the library and apartment. So you would take that also into account, that we have been licensed and ignored and forgotten, and make the companies that
Got one. Thank you.
lost property, we've lost a home, and we've been told that they were going to come and council and
I think it's one tool we have in the toolbox, right? The county we're trying all the time, our department, to get more money to build affordable housing. It costs a lot lately to build a building, can run $15-40 million, but building more affordable, quality, environmentally sustainable housing is a top goal. One of the projects that are on my desk right now that I'm trying to move ahead to the goal line is a Bloomington 4, where we would build another phase of Bloomington. We would incorporate workforce services. We're also looking, and why I encourage everybody in this room to take the survey is these funds can be spent on things like senior home repair. They can be spent on new housing, which I hear very loud and clear that that's a key priority. One of the reasons I came here about a year and a half ago, and one of the reasons I came here is because Supervisor Baca has been such a champion for affordable housing. And as a houser, that's, what I've done for the last 20 years. I wanted to come to a place that was really embracing housing. So I see more housing coming on the horizon. We just got to figure out all the money that it takes to build affordable housing these days. But you can also do CA in private homes. We can do perhaps. We want to maintain the current housing stock as well. So I really encourage you to take the survey. We will. We have to create a document. That's what the government always likes us to do, but it will help. It will rank the priorities, and we can look at other ways to boost housing here and improve the quality, but also other creative ways like ADUs. And I see a question. I hear you, and it's my goal to get you more housing. So I look forward to working with you closely. And I see a question about, yeah, that's you. So I'm going to take the first question, and then Brian is a sidewalk expert, safe routes. So I'm going to let him take the second question. To the first question regarding basically economic development, we partner with our economic development team, but also one of the good things about CDBG that can spur economic development is we can pay for sewers, we can pay for infrastructure that's oftentimes needed to bring more commercial. And so, that's where we're kind of like the uncool part of the equation that gets to economic development and something new and needed in the community. So I think working on infrastructure that will eventually bring in more economic development and micro loans for entrepreneurs or new small businesses are also an eligible CDBG use. So again, I encourage you to take the survey, and sometimes that reimagining your community, having been at this for more years than I want you guys to know because it will date me, one of the keys is entrepreneurs and new business owners and young business owners to kind of that revitalization that we're all talking about tonight. So the micro lending can be key to that along with infrastructure, and I'll let Brian take sidewalks.
You mentioned that you noticed ADA improvements that you've seen, the curb cuts. Those areas were looked at to see if we could qualify for the sidewalk component, and it didn't meet the low mod requirements. So what we did at least is try to get creative and to at least do a portion of the improvements. So when Public Works goes back and they have funding to do those areas, they can then connect. And so we funded basically the ADA component to at least get some of the improvements into the community. That's why you see it that way. And those areas we could not because they didn't qualify. It has to be 51% low mod area. It's a HUD requirement. So that qualifies it as a low income residential neighborhood. Yeah.
But don't give up hope because
No.
oftentimes there's other pools, other departments like safe routes that we can do more sidewalks. So, the results of the survey and your feedback today helps us collaborate with our county departments.
Absolutely.
And get more money.
They don't care that you get up on something. They don't care what happens after.
In regards to the path, if there's not an existing sidewalk That's correct, because we can't do new. That's the problem that we run into. I don't mean to get into the weeds, but it is something that we've talked to Public Works. It is something also that Public Works, our county Public Works, is trying to coordinate, like Carrie has mentioned, to look for other resources to do those sidewalks. The area of the safety.
Flood and some of our other partners, I do, and I can take that concern.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, we can talk after.
Okay. All right, guys, we're going to have to move it along. We've got two more presentations. Thank you so much for your time. Oh, Teresa's got a question. I'm sorry. From the MAC.
Sorry. I just have a few questions, if you don't mind. I'll try to be kind of quick about it, but I'm asking because when I do the survey, I want to, and if I share the information about, so people can do the survey, I want to make sure that I'm explaining things properly. So.
Yes, ma'am.
One on the categories of under like the emergency shelter, homeless prevention, so stuff like that. Are you able? I'm gonna say Colton because this is the closest community closest to us. For example, Bloomington doesn't have designated services. Okay, so we have to for our services if our seniors come to us. I mean. They do have a little senior here, but unfortunately, there's really not a lot of resources for the Bloomington community itself. So it's go to Fontana and go to Colton. Colton's like, well, we don't service Fontana. We only service Colton. And then it's go to the county. And then it's like, well, we don't have enough funding for you guys. And so it's a lot of back and forth as far as resources go, whether it's homelessness, seniors, whatever the case may be. Could this bring in some kind of programs so that we have little more resources like vouchers for the homeless people or, emergency assistance for seniors or, health and dental for, we are a predominantly low income area for the people that don't have health, vision, dental, that kind of stuff?
The short answer is yes, but I will also say that right now our emergency solutions grant program, which deals with homelessness, is done on regional basis. It's not done, like I mentioned earlier, with what I was explaining was on CDBG. ESG is to providers that try to look at the greatest area of need to cover regionally. And so there are opportunities for that. That's why I say yes. That you are right, there's a limited amount of resources in our department, but there's other resources within our other county departments like Office of Homeless Services. So when we hear the survey, it helps us to write our comp plan. But as Carrie mentioned, we also communicate with our partner departments, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. And then just a little question, just a little kind of statement. So there's a gentleman, Dave Jane, here in the past. He has brought this up in regards to the senior housing here, that, it's fantastic. We're super grateful. Or not even just the senior. It was actually, I believe, just the low income housing. That it's not going to people who actually live in Bloomington. Is that something that can be looked at where, like maybe the people who are existing in Bloomington have the first priority versus somebody who I believe he said was coming from LA County or something? I don't know what the criteria is as far as that goes, but
Sorry, Carrie.
that was kind of one of the things that was mentioned to us.
Right.
Absolutely.
I get that question a lot, and we have to be careful about fair housing laws, but you can have a preference, and HUD has clarified for local residents. And you just have to be creative with the waiting list and ensure that we're not violating any fair housing, like I said. So I can work with the management company here to work on that for you and come back and report back on that. But I agree that's a fair concern.
because unfortunately it is low income, and so people are trying to get in and they're residents, and a lot of them are, multifamily households, and I think, sometimes they want to be able to move out on their own and establish, a family household. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was a fantastic presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Just quickly to Teresa's point, we have, I believe, a third phase coming to that. So hopefully, when that new phase gets done, we can prioritize our Bloomington residents. I think Teresa bringing up a great point. So thank you very much. We're going to move along to our long-awaited I-10 Cedar interchange update from SBCTA. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good evening, Gary.
We didn't keep you waiting as long as you've kept us waiting for this
Fair
interchange.
enough, fair enough.
It's 20 years.
No, I appreciate it. Serious matter. My name is Tim Watkins. I'm with the San Bernardino County Transportation Authority. With me is my colleague, Pavitra Pandey. He's a construction manager with our team. And as you know, at SBCTA, we're kind of led by a board of directors that is represented by elected officials, 24 cities, and the 5 county supervisors. And Supervisor Baca asked us if we would come out and provide an update, aware of the concerns over delays associated with this project. And, it's a complex project. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So as you can see, this is where we're trying to get to, a much needed improvement of Cedar Avenue interchange. That prior to this construction effort was predicated by a lot of demand on the off-ramps, backing up to the main line. And so it's about creating more storage on those off-ramps, widening Cedar Avenue over the freeway, providing dedicated turn opportunities, adding a lane to the off-ramp on the eastbound side as well, and replacing the bridge over both the freeway and the railroad. Essentially, we are building 2 with this project. In essence, we're really building 4 bridges when you think we're building the eastern half of the freeway, the eastern half of the railroad, then the western half of the freeway, and the western half of the railroad. It's a very complex that has a lot of participants in its process, if you will. We have the contractor and ourselves managing that contract, but we also have the railroad, UP Railroad, and their authority over the railroad right-of-way, and we have the California Department of Transportation and their authority over the freeway and its right-of-way. So it requires a lot of action, a lot of effort on our part, which is a big part of our job, is to help mitigate the issues that arise between these entities. A lot of the delays that we're experiencing now are associated with one of those bridges, the bridge over the railroad. He's required to provide strategies for means and processes to get us through certain elements of the construction. Our job is to ensure that those processes and those means and methods meet standards associated with the project, as well as comply with other regulatory issues. There has been a number of instances that we've had to reject some of those submittals to ensure meets the expectation of the taxpayer. Results in some delay. In addition to that, we have a very rigid partner in how they manage the railroad right-of-way at UP, and rightly so. They want to also ensure that their operations and that their facilities maintain intact over the long run. All of this lends to where we are today, already experiencing months of delay associated with this project. A big part of why we're here, at the request of the supervisor, is to help us recalibrate that schedule. We feel like we've worked through a lot of those issues with the contractor, the railroad, and ourselves in getting to a point where we can reestablish a construction movement on the bridge portion over the railroad. So I'm going to have Pavitra come up, walk you through what our new schedule outlook is. I'll talk to you a little bit about how you can stay in tune with the project's progress, how to get information on a weekly basis about the status and the current strategies of the project. and then we can answer questions at the end. So Pavitra, next slide, please, guys.
Good evening. So right now, our efforts are focused on the east side of the bridge and on the east side of Cedar Avenue. We're anticipating that we're going to be completed on the east side of the bridge, on both the railroad bridge and on the freeway bridge by the summer of 2025. And on the summer 2025, our efforts will go to the west side of the project so that we can have a smooth flow of traffic north and south on Cedar Avenue. The west side of the bridge should take place up until the spring of 2026. And after there will be some work up until the summer of 2026, which is primarily going to be bridge surfacing on the freeway bridge, the sidewalk and the bridge barrier on the freeway bridge. There was also going to be some additional work, grind and overlay paving on Cedar Avenue and south of Orange Street on Cedar Boulevard. So that's going to be the conclusion of the construction aspect of it. And going into 2026, there is going to be some erosion control plan establishment work that's going to happen behind the shoulders. There should be to the public during that time. Next slide, please. So right now, just status updates on specific components of construction. The east half of the bridge over I-10, the demo was done in spring of 2023. Right now, we are working with reconstruction to the summer of 2025. We did pour the bridge deck, so the next is going to be working on the concrete barrier for that bridge. On the westbound off-ramp, we have completed the sound wall construction as well as nail wall construction, and we are paving behind the K-rail. I'll get to that in a little bit more on the westbound off-ramp in a second. On the westbound on-ramp, we did complete the sound wall construction over there, and on the eastbound, we have completed the retaining wall construction. And on the eastbound off-ramp, we are working on the retaining wall construction in all these areas. We are continuing the roadway construction. Next slide, please. So Tim briefly touched on the Cedar Railroad Bridge. We did get through a big hurdle through the submittal process. We are anticipating that construction will begin in September of 2024 with the bridge demolition, and that's going to happen behind the K-rail that's already been placed over there. And so we are going to work on finishing and reconstructing the east half of the bridge into summer 2025. We also do anticipate one, possibly two 10-day closures. The one closure off-ramp, which is going to be in late 2024, and that's we can pave the totality of the existing ramp at the median, or not at the median, at the top at Cedar Avenue, and also at where the main line and the ramp meet. Traffic switch anticipated in summer of 2025. Where the traffic will switch into the western half of Cedar Avenue, and the work on the west half of the bridge will continue after that. Next slide, please.
So one of the things I think we should be talking a little bit about what Pavitra just offered. The work over the freeway is ahead of the work over the railroad on the east side, but we cannot shift traffic complete. So it may seem less as we get to the latter part, catching up the part over the railroad. And then we'll shift traffic over to the east side so that we can do the same work then on the west side. So just want to manage some of those expectations where it seems like it's not a lot is happening. We can't shift the traffic until the entire stretch is done. What's going on with the project? On the right-hand side, the construction.
I'm sorry, before the last slide, it says switch traffic to newly constructed west half of Cedar Avenue Bridge. Is that west half, or it's going to switch to the east half?
We are switching traffic to the eastern portion once the eastern portion is done so we can construct the western.
Okay, so that's actually incorrect then.
Thank you for pointing out. We'll make sure we get that.
Just wanted to make sure.
If we say it again somewhere else, I'll make sure we get it corrected. Thank you. But let's be clear one more time. We are currently constructing the eastern half of the bridge. We will move traffic from the western half to the eastern half when that is complete so that we can reconstruct the western half. Thank you, Gary, for pointing that out. As I was saying, there on the right-hand side of this slide is a construction alert. We put these out weekly. They are bilingual alerts that are available by just signing up to get them in your email. Text options available if you want that as well, or they're available on our website at gosbcta.com. There's community notices and walkout notices because of some specific activity that we think may have impact, like that, walked to your door. You can get everything fully on your phone, or you can follow us on social media as well at Facebook and Instagram. Next slide, please. Those are the addresses for the project. GoSBCTA.com/I-10 Cedar, but you can go to just GoSBCTA.com, click on the project button, select the project out, and then sign up for alerts there. We do have a toll-free phone number, if you want to just call because there's a concern or an issue that you now and not later, 877-55-SBCTA. And then all of our social channels are at GoSBCTA. Jessica mentioned about the concern of turn signage and things of that nature earlier in the meeting. I think our team went out today and did a drive already to assess that. So that's already in process to address those concerns. That helps when things are brought forward. So either through you or directly to us, we're willing to hear when those concerns are evident so that we can ensure that while we're building this project, we're still providing a safe facility for hosts to use. Any questions? Happy birthday, by the way.
Questions, MAC members? No? Tim?
No, thank you.
Yeah, a couple of things. There's some crazy driving going on that bridge right now. And I know traveling northbound on Cedar as you go up the bridge, I frequently see people diving across the double yellow lines when there's traffic coming actually over that they can't even see.
Right.
And diving over the double yellow lines to jump into the left-hand lane. And then what happens is, because the right-hand lane is so plugged up, they get to the light and then they make a quick dive across in front of the rest of the traffic to jump in and continue northbound on Cedar. I don't know what can be done about that other than putting some little divider delineators or something, but it's really dangerous, some of the stuff that goes
driver
on.
behavior is tough, Gary, as you know, right? Because it's the impatience of folks and what have you. And the project kind of does add to that scenario, right? Because the real issue is how do we look at that and see if there's some engineering way to address it? There may or may not be. We have the right guy here to hear that concern so that he can take it back to the team and see if we can analyze, much like we're doing with Jessica, is there an engineering solution to resolve that behavior? There may not be, but we can definitely look at it, Gary, for sure.
Okay, yeah, anytime people get impatient because the wait's so long.
Yeah.
And on another note, that does impact Cedar and the whole people in Bloomington use Riverside Avenue quite a bit. And there's been talk that that interchange is also going to be rehabbed somewhere along the line. Is that on the drawing board or?
I'm sorry.
Riverside Avenue?
Is
There's
Riverside?
been talk that that's going to be improved again. Is that correct? Or because it's under a lot of pressure right
I don't
now.
know if we have anything in our pipeline. There may be something from the city of Rialto is trying to bring forward. I know Mayor Robertson has often mentioned a desire for that to be expanded in anticipation of the future express lanes coming through Interstate 10. But I don't have anything in our pipeline for those improvements right now.
And is this bridge going to be done before the express lanes get this far?
Yes, I believe they will before they get this far. So the next phase of I-10, we don't anticipate to even start construction in probably till 2026. So even in the early stage work, there maybe need some initial just coordination with the crews, but I don't anticipate any conflicts with this project's effort and the advancement of express lanes coming east.
Okay, one last question for me. So I think you and I had a conversation. I spoke at SBCTA a couple of years ago about the Alder flyover, which has been on the books, I believe is on our general plan in 2007. And I believe it was you that told me that it's still, somebody from SBCTA, I think it was you, but told me that it actually is still on the books as a project. And part of the problem, we have so much growth going on in Bloomington right now, our infrastructure is not keeping up with what's going on. And it's really important to note that from Cedar to Sierra is the longest stretch of the I-10 without an interchange. It's two plus miles.
Right.
And typically we've got an interchange every mile, mile and a quarter, sometimes less. So, I don't know where we're at on that. If that's a dead deal, I know it'd probably take another 25 years, but
Well,
if it's still in the hopper, in the pipeline.
I think the Caltrans standard right now is a mile. That requires a mile in between interchange to interchange. I don't know where Alder is in relationship to the closest current system. We'd have to get, obviously, concurrence with Caltrans on advancing that and then putting together the funding in a priority scale as to where that lands. I know it's been talked about a long time. This project has been talked. The Cedar
Right.
project has been talked about a long time.
Yeah, this project was first brought forward in 2001, Cedar Interchange.
I know it's been number one on our interchange nexus study for a number of years. And it took a lot of different efforts to get to where we are now, and SBCTA coming in to be able to deliver that. We started with the county and some work with Caltrans and others. But the good news is this one's being delivered. Gary, I don't want to say anything wrong about Alder. So let me go back and talk to the powers that be, and I'll get a report either through Jessica, and she can report back out to the MAC.
Well, yeah, it probably wouldn't be in my lifetime for sure, but anyways, talking about Cedar, I believe Cedar is, I heard at one time, the busiest interchange in San Bernardino County.
We were just talking about that
And
today. Yeah.
and yet it was one of the last ones, and that's I believe politically the reason that happened is because we're not a city, we don't have a city council, we don't have a mayor, we don't have staff to go to bat for us. We just have one supervisor. I think we ended up with the short end of the stick on this deal, quite frankly, and that's why I really feel the need at some point this community needs to look at incorporation so we can get our fair share of infrastructure
Well, it
improvements.
definitely is a busy interchange, and we know how busy it was before. We do believe that we're bringing a solution to that issue. We're not the problem. We're not causing that demand. That demand is there, and this project I think will hopefully alleviate that, at least for some time. So appreciate you guys a lot for having us out tonight. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
Oh, yes,
Thank you. Question, Roxanne, quick question.
Yes.
The north, east off-ramp, sometimes the guys are finished, right as you get to the very top, there's a big dip there, and sometimes they forget to put, sometimes, a lot of times, they forget to put any kind of metal, what do we call that? Where we fill up with rock.
Oh, are you familiar with what she?
Talking about on the runway?
Yeah,
right at the top. It's at the top.
Come off the ramp. And sometimes when people are trying to get past that light really quick, they go through there really quick, I've been in Uber. And that leads right through there and we almost flew across the other side.
So sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not. That's what you're saying? But it is, that's interesting.
Yeah, this is something that came up a couple of weeks ago. So we have addressed it once or twice and we'll continue to do so. We'll make sure that the contractor is fixing that issue as time goes on. And I appreciate you bringing it to our attention because that is definitely going to be on our radar too.
So that ramp is scheduled for final lift
That should be done by this summer, next summer, by 2020.
as part of the eastern half.
Yeah. But the reason
So-
why that's happening, we're going to get into the granular and some utility construction that's happening through that area. So we'll make sure that
Okay.
there's temperature.
So the need is still there, but now it's now addressing when work is not happening, how do we ensure that that's not the case? All right, we'll definitely follow up on that. No, we do not. We absolutely do not.
They are also remanufacturing all
Thank you.
Okay, anything else from the MAC?
We appreciate your guys' patience too. Thank you so much. Oh, we have another question back here.
Pam, one more quick one. Okay, we're going to have to move along.
Yes. I'm going to give you my card because you have a very specific issue. Yeah. Let's talk and so that I can see it and then we can make sure we have an answer to that because I don't want to bore everybody's time with your individual issue, but cool.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right.
Appreciate you coming out.
And then I'll leave some more of my cards in the back if anybody needs to get a hold of me. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving along, we're going to go with the Bloomington Roadwork Improvement Project. Bob Vizzuto. Bob, welcome again with your monthly update. Thank you.
Have my presentation up. What? Am I going to have to? Oh, there it is. Okay, you can go to the next slide. Next. All right, Locust, 11th Street. 11th Street from Locust going east. We finished a portion of that work in July, and then we're going to close it again from January to June next year. And when we go in there, that's going to finish up. That's going to put your sidewalks in there. People are asking about curbs, storm drain, fix that area. Okay, next slide. Right now, Locust is closed until April next year, just that one section. We have the detour going on 7th and up Cedar. We're working on that area from basically on Locust from Europa to Armstrong. And with that, it's going to be 4 lanes. It's going to have the sidewalks, lights, storm drain, curbs, all those houses along the east side of their drainage fixed, and a really nice 4-lane road. Next slide. That's what Locust is going to look like when we said the traffic signals, the 4 lanes. We'll eventually move that same down, after we're done down, and do that at Armstrong as well. Next slide. Linden Avenue, we have a part of this project goes up Linden. By the way, there's work being done on Linden. That's another project. That's not ours. I know they're putting a big storm drain in there right now. We'll actually connect to that at some time in the future, but it's just a small sewer line, and it goes up north from 11th all the way up to Santa Ana. And when that work will only be a partial closure. So I don't think anyone's really going to be affected. It'll be inconvenient, but there's not going to be any road closure. And we've already met with the school, and we're going to arrange, time at their convenience to do that work in that area, whether it's over the Christmas holidays or at night or whatever they want or they choose for us to do. So we met with them, and they're on board. Next slide. So that's the summary. If you have any questions, we have phone numbers out on signs. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it goes from Locust to Armstrong. There's also one if you go further south. It's just connecting that same horse trail that goes to where those homes are. Any other questions? Okay, thanks.
Questions from the MAC? No, we're good? Bob, thank you. Appreciate your continued input. Okay, our last presentation of the evening, Arts Connection, Alejandro Gutierrez. Alejandro, thank you for being patient.
Good evening, MAC board members. Good evening, members of the public. My name is Alejandro Gutierrez Chavez. A proud Bloomington High School alumni and executive director of Arts Connection, the Arts Council of San Bernardino County. I'm extremely honored to be here today to present a collaborative project with local artists, the Special Parks District and Supervisor Baca office to develop a Bloomington community mural project at the newly renovated Kessler Park. But with that being said, I want to talk a little bit how this project came to be. So 2 years ago, after the pandemic, the state of California brought together a group, released some funding to support putting artists to work on projects to support the community, bring the community together after a long period of being in isolation after COVID. And Arts Connection, along with the Inland Empire Community Foundation, the Riverside Arts Council, we brought into our local region, the Inland Empire, $3.8 million to put artists to work on a variety of different issues. One of them being the public health, bringing communities back together, environmental justice topics, civic engagement topics, and then also mental health projects. And through that project, we're grateful to have an opportunity to do a community mural project at Kessler Park. If you could do the next slide, actually. And so with that being said, I'm going to create some space to introduce some of the amazing team members. So yeah.
Hello, good evening. My name is Rosie Cortez, and I'm a based painter and community muralist all throughout the region of or Inland Empire. And yeah, I'm just honored to be collaborating with Arts Connection and to be part of this grant. And then we also have
Hi, I'm Willis Solomon. Also work for the Arts Council of San Bernardino County as a communications director, and also a local Inland Empire based from San Bernardino, but work all over the Inland Empire as a creative artist.
And then so today we're presenting on this public art project to essentially solicitate input from the community and get you all involved in this project. So I'll let Rosie take it from here. Next slide, please. Or actually one after that too. I already talked about that.
Yeah. So the mural is going to be at Kessler Park, specifically in that middle piece you see right there that's in blue. And last Friday, we held a community input meeting at Ayala Park. We had about 10 people just contribute their ideas. They helped brainstorm with me. And from that, I'm going to be taking all the input from the meeting and also a survey that we'll also be sharing with you. We have about 20 responses so far on that. And as you can see, so, and it is also going to be completed by the end of the month. So taking all of that into consideration, all the community input, the size and the time constraint, we are highlighting what the majority of the community wants. So we can go to the next slide. Oh, it's a little bit out of order, but we can skip to the next one after that. One more? Okay, so we do want to invite you to take a picture of this if you would like. This is a link to where you can just give us your ideas, your to mind when you think of Bloomington, as well as an opportunity to submit any photographs that then may be used on the mural. Another really important goal of mine is to engage other emerging muralists and artists. I know there's a lot of like awesome talent. I can see it on the walls right here. And just it to be also an opportunity for just local talent to paint with me, to get involved in the project. So that's what the other survey is for. So we can click to the next slide. Oh, I guess there's a few missing.
Before that one should be, yeah, they have it in their packet.
Yeah, it's some photos. So I'm not showing. Oh yeah, so there's a slide missing, but essentially what it is a vision board of the majority of the elements that are going to be in the mural. So those bigger pictures are just show what the majority of the survey input, like what community is requesting to be on it. So the top three that we have are baseball, horses, and then also some historical elements such as the Union Railway Station. Those are what's in the lead. And as like I said, the mural is pretty small, so it will look too busy if we try to include every single thing. So we're just kind of keeping it to those main elements, and then a few smaller things such as the color scheme of Bloomington being gold survey input, then that will be what is reflected on the mural. And then we also just want to mention that on September 22, we are going to have a community paint day. So this is a day that anybody can come paint with me. You don't have to have any experience, and it's kind of paint by numbers. It should be really fun. And yeah, just wanted to invite you all to be a part of it.
And so a little bit of context as well for Kessler Park. We know there's a deep history and culture of baseball and softball. That was heard through a variety of different listening sessions. And then also a deep culture in Bloomington, and as well there in Kessler Park as the equestrian, those equestrian trails as well. And we know that Kessler Park will keep its equestrian trails there. And so that's also another aspect that we're going to be highlighted in the mural. But ultimately, the goal is to get as much community input as possible. So we encourage everybody to keep sharing that link. And the goal is to have this project be a spark for more public art, a spark for us to continue to collaborate and bring more art in a variety of different projects. Whether it's here in Yala Park, and we're finding ways to collaborate with Aaron Spear and Special Parks District, but ultimately everywhere, whenever there's an opportunity, is to bring more opportunities for young artists to be part of these murals, as artwork is real work. It is a profession, and there's living examples of professional artists making a living across the Inland Empire through their art and bringing community together, beautifying different spaces and activating different spaces as well. And so looking forward to just continued collaboration, continued conversations, and yeah, we'll open up if y'all have any questions.
Members, questions? Teresa, you got one? Comments, questions?
All I wanted to say to you guys is that we've seen some phenomenal examples of the work previously, and I will tell you, I was like, what can we start painting in Bloomington? So it was, they were really beautiful examples. So I'm really excited about this project. And, you know, like they said, please try to submit your feedback, you know. And yes, Dave, we did let them know about the horses, so don't worry. We made sure that they knew that the equestrian area was definitely a pivotal point there. So, you know, it's pretty exciting for us to be able to have this opportunity to have a beautiful mural in Bloomington that we can all be proud of. And the ideas that she was, you know, saying how she incorporates things was really exciting. So please submit your information, your feedback. And thank you guys for coming tonight too.
Thank you.
So, I'm sorry, piggybacking on what Teresa had to say, you know, murals are really popping up. They've become in vogue in the Inland Empire, and I'm so happy to see that. And, you know, we just had one approved in Colton very recently. They've got some nice ones in Riverside as well. And the great thing, it's not only pride in the community, but I've never seen, out of all the murals, I've never seen one tagged. There's a lot of respect for the artists that do this work. And there's a lot of community respect. And you know, if one's ever been tagged, I've never seen it. So, you know, it's great, and it shows pride in our community. And for you guys to get the community members involved in this type of stuff is awesome as well. You know, I think that's the kind of community involvement that we want to emphasize and try to, you know, bring forward. So thank you for, you know, what you guys are doing, and Supervisor Bacher for bringing this project forward. So Roxanne, did you have a comment or question real quick?
Do they stay that way permanently, or like after so many years that you come back in and rechange them up some? And then how do you protect them from those idiots who come later and want to have them? How do you guys protect them?
I'll start with the last question. With regards to the protection of murals, there is a coating that helps protect it from graffiti. In addition to that, I think what's really important here is to ensure that as much people could be part of the process as possible. The Paint by Numbers event, when community's there and putting their time and effort in painting the mural becomes an extension of the community, and they end up protecting it as well. And so the likelihood of it being vandalized is extreme, compared to a blank wall, is exponentially less. And so that's that question. If you want to chime in a little bit more after, feel free as well, yeah. And then for the first question, the goal is to keep this mural murals tend to rotate within 5 to 10 years, and really it would be up to the community when that time would come, if the community feels like, hey, it's time to renovate it or change it. That's really up to the Special Parks District. Not yet.
Strictly in the early morning while the wall's in the shade.
Okay.
We'll post it on the Bloomington pages as well as, if you guys want, I mean, on our, I think on our, it's our email address line.
So there's a couple things that are happening in between September 22nd is once there's a draft, a concept, and that's going to be sent out to the Special Parks District as well as Supervisor Baca's office. There's going to be a round of feedback. And then from there, once that's finalized, then it's going to be like, all right, okay, cool, let's go ahead and finalize a date. And so the minute we have that finalized, that's when we'll be in communication and send that flyer out to everybody, and then also the PDF so everybody else could post it as well. Yeah. Yeah. And
Also let me know when that flyer's done so I can see if I can get it on the school website for the district.
Sweet.
If not, I can probably get it to all the schools in Bloomington, Montana area. We have schools.
Yeah.
So if not, I can do that. Get them all.
Appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah.
I want to know something. Where's the funding coming from this? These people are not free. This is costing somebody somewhere. We don't get a donation for our horse group. And they're bringing in other groups to take our money?
Oh,
Where's the funding coming from?
So I could give some context on this. My job is to bring in funding. So we pay tax dollars. That tax dollars goes to the state. And my job is to pull in that funding to come back into our community. So this is completely free for the county and also for Bloomington.
It's harder than getting to get donations.
Correct.
I've been trying to get donations for years. And my horse, it takes me an arm and a leg to pull it out. If it wasn't for friends, I would get it done. We used to get a bed tax. We don't even get that no more. That's why we're saying we're bringing in more stuff. We're not getting funding.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate
I
your
appreciate y'all,
presentation.
and thank you so much for your
Okay.
time. Appreciate it.
Okay, we're gonna move along to the approval of the minutes from August 7th. Do I have a motion? A motion, do I have a second? We have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye, okay, motion carries. Okay, public comment. Dave, here's your chance.
Okay. Is that Dave James?
Public comment, Dave Jane.
I'm getting old. I'm tired of this hot weather. Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Jane. I'm of the San Bernardino Valley Riders in Kessler Park. Aaron's doing a good job down there. The sheriffs are doing a good job. But it just is that I am so hurt to see something like coming in and not getting me no funding or giving me help. Okay? Aaron and I have been working good together. But it just is that I got an October 26th function coming up. October 26th. We put needy kids and special need kids on horseback. And I want everybody to come out and see how that's done because it breaks your heart. And I've been doing it for 25 years. And like I say, the funding is not there. It's not helping me one bit. I mean, we finally got some bathrooms that we haven't had for years, you know? And now we got sea containers down there surrounding my building. You know, it's sad. But other than that, we're doing good. Thanks for you three. You over there, you guys are doing a good job. It just is that we gotta figure our neighbors. We gotta ask our neighbors to come out and help and talk about things that they need, because we're not getting it done. You see this? This is the many people we get every meeting. And this is wrong. Knock on your neighbor's door and ask them to go with you. We got to do something. We got to. Because, I mean, we got a good baseball team. Got a good soccer group. All right. And Virginia needs help on her, you know, our museum down there. I mean, the place needs cleaning and needs people. They can't get weekenders to help her no more. So we're going to have to ask our teenagers to come out and help her clean that place up, like the art club. You know, come in and help them clean it up. She can't do it by herself. She can't. I'm sorry. This neighborhood is really bad. It's really bad. I've been here all my life. It's really bad.
Okay, Dave, thank you. Thank you for your time and your comments. Okay, seeing no other public comment, we're going to move on to discussion items, old business. Anyone on the MAC have old business tonight? Okay. Any new business? Okay, as part of our new business, I do have one thing to bring up, and thanks to Supervisor Baca and his office, we had a community contest recently to name the new development on San Bernardino and Cedar Avenue, and our winner of that contest was Caitlin Valencia from Girl Scout Troop 44. And the winning suggestion was Cedar Village Plaza. So that's going to be the name of that new development in that area. And then also I'd like to mention three other people that put in suggestions. Joanna Ibarra, Berenice Ruiz, and Andrew Diaz also took the time to make suggestions for the plaza. So thank you to them as well. And congratulations to Caitlin and the Girl Scout Troop 44 on naming of the plaza. And once again, we got community involvement in something that's great. We need, as Dave said, we need lots of community engagement and help on anything. Board Member Fuentes, maybe the football team could come out and help clean up the Bloomington garage and help Pam. I don't know, but there's things that can be done if we all work together. So moving along, we'll go with community events. We know Mr. Jane has one in October coming up. Anybody else have any community events? Anything at the branch?
Yes, we has on September 15th, our annual women's event, and it's all free. So we serve lunch and we do raffles, so it's really fun. So this is our third event. And then we have our trunk or treat as well, which will be October 31st. So anybody who wants to participate, it's at Kessler, so we're pretty excited that it's going to be at Kessler. So anybody that wants to participate, come on out or donate candy. So yeah, we're really excited to be back home again. So, and I think that was it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Teresa, you've always got something going with Bloomington Little League, or? Okay, go ahead.
I forgot. Thank you, Teresa. Food pantry. Food pantry we've been holding it here at Ayala because of the closures. Out there at Kessler, we're going to go ahead and have it back at Kessler. And then we'll post on Instagram exactly how they'll enter and how they'll exit. So we're excited to be back there again for that. And that starts next Thursday. Thank you.
Teresa, anything?
My microphone does not like you. Just that we're still, next week is our last week of Little League registration. We will be here tomorrow next Tuesday and next Thursday from 6 to 7:30, in case anyone's interested in signing up. You don't need to be a resident of Bloomington to sign up for Winter Ball. We will start our first game the first Saturday of October, and we finish the Saturday before November. No, not November. What's that called? Thanksgiving. Okay. Other than that, Aaron is actually currently printing some flyers that Angela had made for your event. So they will be in the back if anybody wants to grab one of those. I believe here he comes with some. So that is in regards to your event. Okay. So thank you, Aaron, for doing that. We appreciate it. That's it.
Thank the water company, because they give us 10 cases of water.
Okay, yeah, West Valley's been very, very helpful on the Bloomington events, so thank you to them. Okay, anybody else in the audience have any community events that you're involved in you'd like to bring forward? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move along to MAC member reports. Teresa, you want to go first tonight?
Thank you. Every time, Gary. Dave's right. Donations are very hard to come by, guys. I mean, we both operate nonprofits here, and it's very difficult. So if anyone has the ability to maybe bring some candy for his event, the next MAC meeting, we can hand over to him, or, maybe donate. I don't know. Are you barbecuing? Are you barbecuing this time? No?
Yeah, well, they have, Clanford got the food.
Okay. Like, I don't know if you need paper goods, anything like that, Okay, so he's looking for candy. So if anyone, it doesn't matter if it's a big candy, big bag, small bag, anything helps, right? So, it is very difficult, and you do put on a very great event, and again, it is for special needs, but everyone is welcome. So if you know of anybody that has special needs children or works with special needs children, grab one of his flyers and share it. There's not very many opportunities for special needs kids out there to attend an event of this caliber. So it's really nice to be able to offer that to them. Other than that, I don't really have much to say, except thanks for everybody for hanging out, because we did have a very long meeting, and I appreciate everybody's input, and I hope you guys have a good evening.
Everyone for coming out. And again, to piggyback on what Teresa was saying, Dave Jane's event is amazing. If you can even come out and lend a helping hand to help him out as well, that would be great. They have a great team. We volunteer with Dave Jane as well. So it is a great event. You see the smiles on the kids' faces, the special needs that get on the horses and stuff. So it's priceless. So if you can help out in that way, that would be great. Yeah, Dave Jane, you're awesome. You're awesome. So thank you for everyone coming out. And if you can invite people, as he said, to come out, that would be great, to the MAC meetings. That would be great. So thank you again for coming.
I'll make it real quick here. It's been a long evening. Thank you to all our presenters tonight, especially thank Captain Thies, Sergeant Ruiz, Deputy Nunez. Thank you for everything you do in this community. Wouldn't be safe without you. And we really appreciate you guys, and hopefully we'll continue the progress, and we'll get more deputies into the community. And on that front, not only thank you to the presenters, but more importantly, thank you to the residents that stayed. It was a long evening, but there was a lot of good information shared. Hopefully you got something out of this meeting. You'll tell more people to come. We'd love to see the place packed where we have to put in more chairs. But, there's a lot of good things happening. There's a lot of work needs to be done, but there's a lot of people working on it as well. So thank you. And Dave Jane, thank you. This man, if you don't know him, he's got a huge heart. Please come out and support his event. He's done this for years, and he deserves all the kudos for what he does for this community. So thank you, Dave, personally. We appreciate you. So with that, we'll call for an adjournment. Okay, we're gonna adjourn the meeting at 8:34. Thank you very much, and thank you for bearing with us for a long meeting.